Hello and welcome to Let's See How This Goes. Instead of making a video for the Artist's Way Week 1, I decided to do it as a live stream. And eventually they'll turn into, excuse me, reading productivity sprints as well. First part will be covering the material in the Artist's Way. There's 12 weeks to the program if you're not familiar with it. And then the next part of the stream will be reading productivity. So whether you've got things to do around the house, catching up on some reading you've been doing, we'll open that up and have some time for that and then catch up with any comments that people have. So kicking this off, I've already done an introduction about the Artist's Way. I'll leave a link to that video after the stream down in the description box below. Hopefully I'll remember. This won't be a very long stream since I just came up with this idea this morning, so we'll see how this all flows. But I decided this might be easier than trying to do a recording, then find out that the audio didn't work, which has happened with some of the other recordings I've done. And I just figured this would be easier because I don't have to edit. And this is also a little more interactive. As people join the chat, they may want to share their thoughts about the Artist's Way as well. Now, there are 3 main tools that go with this. So we have morning pages, and I've mentioned in my introduction video, I don't do those, but when I first did the Artist's Way, this is my 3rd time working through the program, I did do morning pages, and the idea is as you get up, you do 3 handwritten, not typed, handwritten pages, and it's just whatever comes into your mind. So initially it may be, I don't know what to write. This is really dumb. And as the weeks progress, days progress, I should say, you'll find different things to write. And the idea is to just clear your mind so that you can get on with your day. Now, I tried that, and for me, what works is doing that at the end of the day. So I just go through what's happening and just pop that into my journal. With morning pages, you don't share them with other people. They're solely for you, as is my journal. And you don't go back and read them each day. You may go back after a little while and browse through, see if there's any things that are continually coming up that you might need to address. And that's the idea of morning pages, is just to get the things out of your head and down on paper so you can move forward with your day. The other tool to the program is the artist date, which I highly recommend. In that case, you schedule a time with yourself, and you may do coloring, you may do knitting, any number of things. You might go browse through a craft store or another type of store. The idea is to just have some fun time for yourself and to make yourself a priority. So you don't bring anyone else on the artist date with you. You can do it at home. You can go out and about. The idea is make sure you keep that date and you don't cancel it. The amount of time is, of course, going to depend on your schedule and what you can fit in. The third thing, and I'm suddenly having a brain fart here, so it might just be those 2, the artist date and the pages. Yeah, those are the two big ones. Now, she also mentions her work is, as I've said, based on her 12 years of teaching, and this is what she put together afterwards. When she was teaching her class, she has students sign a contract. Basically, it's an agreement with yourself to commit to those 12 weeks. That's up to you if you choose to do it or not. In order to fully get the experience of the artist's way, I do recommend getting your own copy. Unlike the listening path, this one is a little more in depth in terms of what Julia shares each week, and there are far more exercises to do. In the artist's way, the exercises are all at the end of the chapter. And like the listening path, there is also a check in at the end of each week. So let's see how this is all going to go. And this will give you an idea of what it takes sometimes when I'm putting together a video. I always have some jot notes so I know what I want to talk about, make sure I cover the points that I was hoping to cover. And with that, let's jump into this. So, week one of the Artist's Way is recovering a sense of safety. At the beginning, Julia says, this week initiates your creative recovery. You may feel both giddy and defiant, hopeful and skeptical. The readings, tasks, and exercises aim at allowing you to establish a sense of safety, which will enable you to explore your creativity with less fear. As I've mentioned before, Julia's program, 12 weeks, she is very much open about her recovery with alcoholism and the importance of AA to her recovery, which is, of course, a 12-step program. Now, in week one, she starts with what she calls shadow artists. And paragraph 1 on page 25 says, one of our chief needs as creative beings is support. Unfortunately, this can be hard to come by. Ideally, we'd be nurtured and encouraged first by our nuclear family, and then by ever-widening circles of friends, teachers, well-wishers. As young artists, we need and want to be acknowledged for our attempts and efforts, as well as for our achievements and triumphs. Unfortunately, many artists never receive this critical early encouragement. As a result, they may not know they're artists at all. Now, I should also mention as we move forward, this program isn't just for people who are writers or painters, dancers, actors, etc. Anyone, regardless of what you do for a living, can benefit from this. It's about getting in touch with yourself, tuning into what's important, and there are a lot of benefits. I first did this program after a back injury over a decade plus ago. Thankfully, I'm still upright. If you've seen some of my gardening videos, which I label earthing, I'm still able to get out about, do the things that I love and enjoy. But going through this program is also a great way to get in touch with yourself, what matters, resetting priorities, and fine-tuning. It's also about tapping into making that time of doing things you enjoy. So for myself, it's coloring. You can't quite see them now because I had to pull the curtain because of the glare, but I have my black velvet posters. I've got some other coloring projects I want to get to. I have a number of different supplies. Big thank you to Cindy for the washi tape and the lovely sparkle little stickers. I'll be putting together some gratitude jars and other things. So throughout week 1, we're establishing that sense of safety. We're dealing with what's holding us back from doing different things that we love. It might be different projects. It might be pursuing a different course that you want to take at school. Maybe you're feeling anxious or nervous about that. So this week is about setting that foundation. And each week of the program builds on different steps. Now, for me, this week really speaks to Abraham Maslow. And you may have seen different posters. A lot of people have adapted his theory, and it's, let's see, can I do one? Probably not. A triangle. So no, I didn't. But I do have a nice pyramid. There we go, right there. And with Maslow, it's called the self-actualization. He's got different levels. And of course, the bottom level is that sense of safety, making sure you have the foundation. And that's the same in this program. You need to have something solid in place to build on. And whatever that is for you, that's what you need to fine tune. So things like making sure you have a roof over your head, you feel safe and secure in your home, making sure that you have food and regular nourishment. All of those things are crucial and important, and they're the first things that you need to take care of before you can start building in other ways. So that's step 1. Now, she talks about, as I said, the shadow artists. So these are people who want to get into drawing, doing other types of creative things, but they just haven't had the encouragement as they were growing up. Sometimes they may, as they become adults, get into it. And other times, what some of them will do is actually support other people who are artists in various forms, whether, again, that's drawing or acting, what have you. So the shadow artist will support people who want to develop those skills, and that's their way of being part of that creativity process. The next thing she talks about is that creativity is play, and it really should be. And again, practice and practice. So if you're just starting to do artwork and drawing, as I will be throughout the 12 weeks of this program, then you have to start with your sketches and learning all those different steps. And they're not going to be spectacular right off the bat. So be prepared that there's going to be some mistakes, there's extra learning, and then you keep at it. The notes that I have here is you start with those baby steps. So it's about making progress, not perfection. It's about getting started, not just thinking about it in your head. Also, keeping in mind, it's like marathon training. Whatever skill you're trying to develop, you're not going to right off the bat be perfect at it. So you try it for a little bit and you work at it and you develop the skills. You don't just go totally crazy, full tilt all the way, or you would never make it to the end of the marathon. For me, this also reminded me, and it's because there's just a number of things I've been seeing lately. A number of YouTubers lately have been talking about either being burnt out or fed up with the different things going on with the platform. I've been kind of shaking my head with some of the stuff as well. And it's part of the reason why I've been kind of hit and miss with different things. In January, I was gung-ho to get started with a variety of things. We've had some big life unexpected things happen here as well. So between those two things, it's been kind of. But I've also noticed a number of other people who haven't been creating content for a variety of reasons. Some of them have also had big unexpected life events. Some have just disappeared. Some are slowly coming back. So there's, again, a lot going on. But what I've noticed with some folks is, especially when you get started, I mean, you're excited, you're hoping things will develop and build. And for some people, they do build quickly, but the experience is different for everyone. Tomorrow will be 4 years since I first uploaded my very first video with Panther and I. I guess I should have had that here and I could have shared it. Things have changed a lot in those 4 years, both the way I present myself online and how comfortable I am in front of the camera. And it's still hit and miss some days. The different content that I share in terms of I used to do monthly summaries. I do have some book reviews. I haven't had them lately, but I'll get back to that. And like I say, in January, I was excited about everything I had planned. I still have my notes. I still intend to get to those things. The Artist's Way, covering these 12 weeks, is one of those plans. Wednesdays will be the vampire series every other Wednesday. And the Wednesdays in between will be different things like cryptids and UFOs. So you need to have an idea of where you're going and pace yourself. I've seen some people who, and I did it myself, I think it was last year, like you're always putting up content, and gung-ho doing everything all the time. What I realized last year was that while I was so busy recording and trying to make sure I had content up, what I wasn't doing was making sure I was getting the yard work taken care of and getting outside to do what replenishes my soul and keeps me going, which is being outside in nature. So this year, that's going to be different. I've learned, and I'm trying to schedule and plan things around what can I have up for my viewers and community, because I am very proud of the community that I've built over the last 4 years. A big thank you to everyone who has been here, both old and new. It's very much appreciated. Sorry, voice is going. Excuse me, allergy time. So as much as I love all the plants blooming and things, it also impacts my overall health. But I'm very proud of the community that I've built. It's always a treat to see comments under videos or emojis because, again, I mean, I know people watch a lot of content and a lot of different content creators, so you don't always have time to leave a comment. Some people are listening in the background as they're working. I think it's kind of cool and quite an honor to be the radio as people are at work. I grew up in a time where typically what you had on was a radio versus a video, but I'm very honored that people want to listen to me as they're doing other things. So you need to be clear about why are you making a video and what's your long-term plan. So are you creating to reach other people, inspire, share information? Are you creating because you think there's a payoff financially at the end? And again, I've seen a bunch of videos where people had been doing well, and that's great, whatever happened in the spring last year is still having ripple effects and impacting people. So, hopefully that turns around. And for the folks who do this to pay their bills, that starts turning around again. For myself, it's something to keep me busy during the day, and it's a reason to get out of bed and something to work towards. I mean, I'd still be reading and enjoying the information either way, but it's fun to have a big project going and have other people who I'm having conversations with either in the comments or on Voxer or through email. There's a lot of different great ways to connect with people these days. Now, here, and it's one quote, and I always get it wrong, so I need to read it directly from the page. And if you had seen my live stream with Nicole from Nicole's Bookish Nook, I had mentioned this quote. So this is about people talking about, I'm too old. Hey, Jen, nice to see you. People talk about, I'm too old to start learning this or doing something entirely new. And this is wonderful. She says, when I make this point remember that in order to recover as an artist, you must be willing to be a bad artist. Give yourself permission to be a beginner. By being willing to be a bad artist, you have a chance to be an artist and perhaps, over time, a very good one. When I make this point in teaching, I'm met by instant defensive hostility. But do you know how old I'll be by the time I learn to really play the piano, act, paint, write a decent play? Yes, the same age you'll be if you don't. I mean, that's perfect. Hey, William, if you don't start, I mean, that time is still going to go. So to say, I'm too old to do this or do that really doesn't make any sense. It's worth giving it a try. And yeah, as I've already said, it's not going to be spectacular the first time you do it, whether it's playing the piano, drawing a picture, or what have you. Hey, Gareth. But if you don't start and you don't try, including YouTube, like I say, tomorrow is going to be 4 years. And that is funny because I opened my account in July, and it was April before I put up my first video. I couldn't even tell you how many I deleted before that first went up. But here I am, 4 years later, still plugging away, giving it a whirl, see where it goes. So, I mean, Julia's point is perfect. This could be 4 years later, and I could still be humming, hawing, and debating about whether I'm going to even bother trying with YouTube. So I'm going to catch up with comments. Thank you for everyone who's joining. I know there wasn't a notification. I just, off the top of my head, decided to give this a whirl. Hey, Jen, lovely to see you. Hope you're doing well. I do it to share. Okay, this is William. Do it to share information and connect for mutual interest. Wish I could upgrade my equipment, though. You know what? We all start with what we have, William, and eventually, when the time is right, you will. I mean, some people just use their phone, so you start with what you have. Jen saying love it to the comment about age, and, just give it a try. Don't use your age as something to not get started. Can't be here 100%. No worries. Watching and listening. Well, coming back and forth to the lounge here in spirit. Thank you. I love it. And Gareth, that ties in perfectly with what I was saying about being the radio for some people as they're working and doing things. And I'm all good with it. To be honest, sometimes that's why I don't overstress about different backgrounds and things because I know people they're just listening to me. They're not watching, which is good. It all works out. Sometimes I try and do some fancier things, but 4 years is awesome. Made lots of friends. Thank you, Gareth, and I appreciate that. And yes, I am very honored to have all those folks as friends. Yeah, I mean, again, that's the big part. For me, I started, I think, to just I needed something to do in the day. My business had closed. There were different things with my health, and a few years later, I wasn't driving anymore, which meant I wasn't, getting out and about. So here I was at home. As much as I love my cats and being outside with the plants and the birds and the squirrels and all the other critters that visit, they're not really, they don't chat about books and they don't read books. And it's a different kind of hanging out time. But it definitely, as I also realized this morning, that's what fills my well and renourishes my soul and keeps me going. And it has, oh, okay, I'm not going to get emotional. Okay, I'm going to try not to get emotional. Let's put it that way. Ever since I've been a kid, it has been the outdoors. I grew up on a farm, we had dogs, and I had friends from school and human contact, but it was that outdoor with the animals time. And now in the city, it's the same. We're blessed to have Panther and Tiki with us. And finally, some good news. Panther went for his blood work on Saturday. And I think I don't know if I've mentioned it in Vox or in my comments, but we did find out in January that Panther has a thyroid condition. And it's been a bit of a haul getting his medication worked out. But now, thankfully, he's on the right dosage, had his blood work checked on Sunday. Thank you, universe. All is good. And it's now next April before he has to go for another check with his blood work. So our sweet boy is going to be with us for a bit longer, thankfully, because I think at this point, with this month, that would have did me in. Universe has already kicked us in the ass, taking 3 and 8 months several years ago. Don't think I could have much handled losing another one right away because we just lost Cena in November. So I think that would have been way too much for me. Yeah, I deleted early videos also. And I agree. It's definitely trial and error. I mean, there's some I've still gone back and deleted now and again, only because I've done some updates on information. And some were just like, yeah, no, I don't like them. And off they went. So, yeah. Yay, great news. Thanks. I love you too, sweetie. And I love your self care sprints on Tuesdays. So, with the Artist Way, what I'm going to be doing is the afternoon, it'll be the afternoons, and I'll be covering the chapters and doing some sprints. And yes, Jen has her Tuesday self care sprints in the mornings, which is awesome. So I figured this will be a good way to get through the material, make sure that I'm working through the program, and I have my binder and I need to get my sheets and things together to do the work. And Yeah, it's something new. I think eventually I'll have to switch to a different platform because there's only so many hours on StreamYard, and I've got a couple of streams coming up on the 16th. I'll have Cindy back from Wondering About Nature. So excited to chat with her again because she has moved states since the last time I had her on. Lovely channel, and she shares nature pics. That's her whole channel, and she used to work with students teaching them about nature, which would have been such a cool job. So now she's retired and she shares photos and videos, and her description box is always full of information about whatever she's sharing, whether it's about habitats, birds, mammals, all kinds of different nature beings, fur, feather, fish. So that'll be lovely. Then on the 25th, we'll be doing Merrick, the Vampire Chronicles. So that will be the group of us who are reading the Chronicles. And for the moment, that's kind of it. I'm not really planning a lot of live streams at the moment. Just got to get a sip here. Excuse me. We have a few life things going on with Papa Dragon. He's had 2 more tests. We have to wait for those results. He's got 2 more coming up before the end of this month. Then we have to wait for those results. And then we have to see how the surgery goes. So, life. There's a lot of life right now. And yeah, even for myself, there's life, and I've got to do some tweaks and things with my own pain management. And the last week has not been good in terms of depression and stuff. And I wasn't planning on talking about this, but here we are live. You just never know what's coming up. So hopefully, this week with the sun, and we're in spring and the weather and getting back on track and moving forward, some of that depression will finally start to go away. And I have a few more things to tweak and an exercise program to figure out. And then onward we go. And I did mention that in my comments from Steering by Starlight, the thanks I quit doesn't mean that you're giving up or you're throwing in the towel. It means there are some things out of your control. So I guess like the serenity prayer, the wisdom to change the things you can and know that there are things you can't. And you just one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward because it's the best option there is. And thank you, Jen. I appreciate that. And yeah, that's the other is getting back to doing Reiki, not just for others, but for myself. I need to get back into my own foundation, my spiritual base, which is connecting with the earth, getting my hands into the earth. Last week we did have a really good day. Friday, it was mild. I had the front and back door open. I had windows open. It was such a treat to finally get, fresh air coming through the house and have things open. And I was outside playing in the dirt, got a few more stumps moved, and I'll get some of that together and share what I've got going on out front. So my front yard well, I can't say done because there's still a bit of cleaning and planning, but there's a nice border that I have set up, so that's taken care of. And I have to keep reminding myself it's only April. So I can't get out and start planting and put seeds and everything out because it gets far too cold here. If you're listening and you don't know, I'm in southwestern Ontario, Canada. And up here we have frost potentially until usually around May 24 is when they figure that's kind of the last concern about frost, but it's hard to say. Things have changed so much with temperature and climate. We'll have to wait and see how this year goes. Last year was a real mix of cold and sun and rain. So we'll see how it goes and see what comes back. But yeah, so in terms of connecting with the creativity and the artist way, just remember, have fun, and it's about the journey, not the destination. So yeah, Paulo Coelho thing there from The Alchemist is you just work at it, and there might be some detours and, you get sidetracked and all the rest of it. But if it's something that you're really enjoying and a skill that you want to develop, then stick with it. And even with doing this program, and I said it when I was going through the Listening Path series, I mean, there's a lot of great things in Julia Cameron's work. And each week you read through the material. She recommends, and I really like that idea, is to read through all of it before you start so that it gives you an idea of what's going to be coming up each week and the different activities. Now, each week she has, and I need to come to the end of week 1 here. Oh, I've hopped into week 2. I definitely need to get my lighting better for next week. So there are 10 exercises, and because these are all set weekly, obviously you're not going to get through all 10 of them. I mean, they each, depending on how you do them, take a different amount of time. So what she recommends is to read through the 10 exercises and pick the ones that you want to do that week. So you might pick one to do each day. You may have a chunk of time when you can work on a few of them at a time. Again, make it fit for you. I'm all about, especially with these types of programs, do what's going to work the best for you so that you can get the maximum benefit from it. If it seems like work, then you're going to be put off by it. But make it fun, make it interesting, and you'll gain benefit from it, whether it's the artist way or a different type of program. I think the one thing I forgot to mention at the beginning as well, I got my copy through my local thrift shop. I did have another copy that was all highlighted that I worked in, but silly me gave it to someone, and rather than them sending it back to me, they just got rid of it. So there you go, lesson learned. So I lucked into this copy at my local thrift store for all of $4.50. So I would recommend if you don't have a copy already, then check your local thrift store. I'd also recommend checking out your library so that you can quick skim through and see if it's something that you're interested in working through. I also have another copy of it, and I picked that up several years ago, and it's got The Artist's Way and 2 of her other programs that I still need to work through. But I decided I'm going to do The Artist's Way again first. Like I say, this is my 3rd time, but there's always something to be gained from it. And then I think I might go through the next 2 programs, which is, I think it's called Walking Through Water. And then there's the others. So I'll mention those at some other point. But so, yeah, there's 10 exercises. Now, the other thing that I've mentioned with this before is if you don't have the time to keep going through it, as in the 12 weeks, and you find you have to put it aside because, like me, could be life suddenly gets you. As a friend of mine years ago used to say, life is what happens when you make plans. So even if you have to put this aside for a while, say you get up to week 3 or 4 and you just find things get to be a little too much, put it aside. And then when things calm down and you feel drawn to completing this, then come back to it and you can decide whether you want to go back to week 1 and start over again, or if you just want to review what you've accomplished to that point and then carry on from week 5 onward. Again, adapt, modify, and really make these things work for you. Now, another thing that she talks about is the enemy within. And again, whether you relate this to being a YouTube content creator, developing some different arts skills, whether that's painting, acting, music, whatever is of interest to you, there's that, oh, am I really good enough? Is this really something that I can excel at? And you don't know until you try. And you're not going to get better if you don't practice. But she also talks about being careful who you talk to. In other words, talk to the people who are going to encourage and support you, and try and stay away from the naysayers. There are always people who don't want you changing, don't want you doing things a bit different, or doing things they're not comfortable doing. Those aren't the people you want to be chit-chatting with when you're trying out a new skill. You want to talk to the people who are going to be supportive and encouraging and who genuinely care and want to support you. So be sure that when you're trying something new, you're talking to the people who will help support and encourage you. Whatever it is you're trying to do, whether that's launching a new channel, a new topic, taking your channel in a new direction, starting a new job, a new course in school, look for those encouraging, supportive people. I know Julia had she had a term in listening path. And at the moment, I can't think of what it is. I know it was Sonia Coquette. The psychic, I have the psychic pathway. That's also a 12-week program. I'm going to have to look up in the listening path and then mention who that is. But it's finding those supports and people who are going to encourage you. She also talks about using affirmations. And I think these are great as well. A lot of people find them helpful, and they're mentioned in the majority of self-help books that you'll find. When you write affirmations, remember, write it as it's happened and write it in the positive. When you're setting them out, be realistic. You could write, today I finished a chapter or 3 chapters of a draft, right? So if you're planning on writing a novel, just setting that affirmation that you've done some of that work. And again, I do know from having chatted with Nicole, it works different for everybody. So authors may plan out the number of pages or number of words that they've written and set it like that. If you have your artist date, today I went on my artist date, and pick the time that's best for you to write your affirmations, whether that's in the morning and you're setting your goals for the day, whether that's in the evening, so it's like a gratitude type of thing. All of this stuff you tweak and fine tune for what's going to help you in terms of setting your own perspective and keeping you in that positive headspace. Especially right now, there are so many challenges and things going on, both on personal levels, global levels, all over the place. So it's really important to find those things that can keep you going and moving through the day and keeping you making sure that you're filling your well, because you can't help and support others if you're running on empty, right? And so the analogy of a car, you make sure you get your car checked out, you make sure your car has gas, or if you ride transit, you make sure you've got enough money to get on the bus. Well, you need to make sure that, you've got enough money to get up and get moving through the day, or you've got enough gas in the tank to get you from point A to point B. So, in order to be supportive and there for other people, you first and foremost have to be there for yourself. And no, that is not being selfish. You need to have yourself taken care of to be able to support and help other people. Otherwise, you're just, you're trying to burn the candle on both ends, and that doesn't work well ever. just just so you know. Now, Julia also talks about that little inner voice. She calls it the censor. So as soon as you start trying something different, you've got that little voice go, what do you think you're doing? You're not going to be good at this. All those, there's, I think it's A, talks about stinking thinking. And I just froze there for a bit. Hey, Kat. I didn't have a planned live stream, just so you know. I just decided to do this off the cuff instead of doing a artist wave video. It just seemed easier to get on and babble loose. But so yeah, with that inner voice of saying, and lurker mode is fine, man. And thank you for the reminder about, yes, hit the like button, please. Well, it's going to be on Monday afternoons for the next 12 weeks, just so you know. So there you go. And it will probably start at 1 p.m. So I'll be doing this for the Artist Way series instead of sitting and doing recorded videos. I'm just going to get on, chit chat. The first part will be going through the different stuff in the Artist Way. Eventually, there'll be breaks to do like reading and other stuff, and then come back and do a chit chat. So today's just kind of, we'll see how it goes, if there are people available to pop by and watch, if we end up having a team rewatch, because again, I know people have, especially in the afternoons and the different time zones, people are at work, other things going on at home with children, homeschooling, etc. So yeah, I figured I'll give this a try and see how this works out on Monday afternoons. So yes, I will probably be seeing some of those soccer balls and other cute little emojis you love to share, Kat, and I appreciate it. It's always fun popping in to see what you've left before the stream even starts. Now, the other thing that Julia talks about are blurts. So maybe you'd want to write, maybe you're thinking of writing poetry or writing a novel or a short story, but you're going on about, oh, but I can't spell, I can't this, I can't that, and your head just fills up with that crap. So you make a list. You think of where those negative messages came from. Was it somebody in your past who told you this or that? And then you turn those things around. So if spelling is an issue for you, guess what? They have things like spell check now. That should not be holding you back. The other is just write it. I mean, again, stream of consciousness or flee flow, woohoo, free flow. You get it done, you get it out, and then you can always go back and do the editing and changing. Whether, and now you can even dictate. So it's not even like you have to write it out by hand. You can dictate and watch the words flow on a page, or you can do it by hand, whichever works best for you. There are so many different options out there now. So take a look at those blurts, figure out where they've come from, and then deal with all of that and get those out of the way so that they're not plugging up your head when you're trying to move forward and accomplish whatever it is that you want to work on. Now, she does give an example through this chapter about an individual who figured out where the blurt came from, and it was an individual who had discouraged them as a child. There were some other bigger issues involved as well, which I would have added in that example. The individual should have gone to get some counseling, and hopefully they did, because it was a very tense situation, shall we say. But so going back to figure out where those blurts came from is how the individual realized that's what happened, and it was an issue that they had blocked, understandably. So sometimes even going back and figuring some of this stuff out means not just recognizing, oh, yeah, it was this person or that situation, but maybe there's some more intensive work that needs to go along with that. So that's pretty much week one in terms of getting our sense of safety. It's about building that foundation and making sure that we have something solid to build the rest of our skills and goals on. I've already mentioned about there's 10 exercises, and is this on page? Because it's always funny to, yeah, it's always funny to me how certain things come up, and the book's in the other room at the moment. But the magic of believing, I've mentioned Claude Bristol a number of times, and it's funny, she actually has this quote here of, undoubtedly, we become what we envisage. In other words, if we think about it and focus on it and move forward, then that's what we can become. Yeah, it's amazing how hurtful remarks from childhood, yes, still affect us as adults. And I mean, that's definitely true. And I know myself, partly because I've done so much of this kind of work, is as you keep going back and reassessing and taking a look at things and then fine tuning. And when I say looking back, I don't necessarily mean reliving but more go back as an observer. How did that impact me? How did that change me? And how can I now, as an adult, fine tune it or let it go? Because now as an adult, you know that wasn't accurate. And that's why I think this type of work is very important. Whether you're doing it on your own at home or whether you do it by going to see a counselor or a therapist. I mean, both have their benefits. And again, you need to pick and choose what works best for you. So that's pretty much The first part is building that sense of safety and making sure you have your foundation in place. Now, the first check-in, of course, is a bit easier because you're just getting started, setting up your goals. So number one is about how many days did you do your morning pages? Now I say for me, that's not going to be part of the process, but I do recommend if it's your first time giving that a try. And even if you're not doing the program, it may be of benefit and you may find it interesting. So, of course, you'd be doing that 7 out of 7 days. I'm not a morning person. One of her suggestions is to get up a bit earlier in the morning to get those 3 pages written. So I would say do what's best for you. She asks, of course, because this is at the end of the week, you're doing your check-in. Did you do your artist date and keep it? What did you do? How did you feel about it? So maybe you spent some time coloring or putting together a new journal. And actually, Jen, because I'm looking at your name, I'm thinking of you with your lovely Frankenstein junk journal. I mean, that's a beautiful work of art. And that may be something you do through your artist date. Junk journaling seems to be quite popular these days, and I have a few planned myself. I just haven't quite got there yet. And then number 3 is, were there any other issues this week that you consider significant for your recovery? And then talk about them. So for some of this, you will want to journal, whatever that looks like, whether it's, a little journal like this one. And I love journals with sayings on them. So this says, when it rains, look for rainbows. When it's dark, look for stars. So you may just want something to do some little jot notes in. You may want something bigger. I'm planning, and I don't know if I'll get it set up today or not. I've got this cool bubble binder, and I've got sections in it. And then I'll be doing, as it hits my little mouse, I'll be doing my notes and keeping them in here. So I've got Julia Cameron's work. I'll also be making my notes on Steering by Starlight. I have some done. I just need to get a little more detailed. The Celestine Prophecy, so I need to go through all of those. Dan Millman, Law of Attraction, channeling, so things like Creon, Orin, Seth, those types of books. Cryon, I should say. I don't know why I've just Creon is the way it came up. And then Miracles and Urantia. So that would be the Course in Miracles. And I have the Urantia book that I want to get reading. And I also have a small journal here that I'll be making some extra notes in. And this one says, a certain darkness is needed to see the brightest stars. And I agree, especially living in the city, sadly, the ability to see stars is not quite what it used to be. So I need to get some pages in here, lined paper or blank. Well, it'll be a mix of lined and blank because some of it I'll do with drawing, some of it'll be writing. I need to read through the work, decide what exercises I'm going to do. And yeah, so I'll be using this time as well to get myself on track and make sure that I'm doing the exercises and activities. Thinking about fun crayons, absolutely. Don't have the blanket for it yet, but that might be fun. And I may actually be moving the laptop with me, which is what I stream from. At the moment, Tiki has the chair, so I won't be sitting there, but I might move it out to the living room every now and again, and then we can have Panther join us. And yeah, I think it's too dark for the little Tiki. Now, see here, I can have fun. Whoop, is it? Yeah. But let's see if I turn this off. Will it? Woo! There we go. I could actually do that while I'm doing sprints because that's the overhead projector that I have. That's not the one that Tiki was playing with in the shorts the other day, but ooh, I just thought of that. I can blank out. Let's see, is that gonna? We'll leave it there for now. I can close the curtains in the living room and yeah, have that. Okay, now I'm excited for Monday afternoons. So yeah, I'll either be working on The Artist's Way through this time. I've also been reading, and I almost DNF'd this book, so I'm glad I kept going with it. This is American Cosmic. I hate that they put those stickers there from the library. I mean, geez, you had all this space, but anyhow, this is by D.W. Pasulka, UFOs, Religion, and Technology. Now, this individual is a professor of religious studies. I almost DNF'd it because in the beginning she was talking about Wilbur Stryber, the one who says they were abducted, and the other book that I'd read where they messed up the difference between empathy and telepathy. But it's actually been a fascinating read in terms of the different people. Like you can see there's a few tabs because it's a library book, so I can't annotate. But there have been a number of things that have stood out that I've actually found quite interesting. Now, the other thing about this individual, and this ties in with the paranormal, is she was one of the consultants for the Conjuring movies, two of them. And there's a whole brouhaha throughout the paranormal and debunking community about the Conjuring house these days because it's been up for sale. There's all kinds of stuff that's happened. But of course, the movie was based on the Perron family, not the family who lived there after the Perrons. And because in the Conjuring movie they mention the address, the other family ended up moving because all kinds of people showing up all hours of the day, 24/7, paranormal investigators. So they finally ended up selling because they were older. These people all just freaking them out, showing up with all their crap because, woo, going by the stuff of Ed and Lorraine Warren and this movie, and it's just a whole boondoggle. So I am curious, especially about the part I'm at now, because she is talking about her involvement in the movie and that. And unfortunately, also because of that movie, Bathsheba Sherman's gravestone has been vandalized so many frickin' times. Because, of course, let's not check things out and check the facts. Let's just believe a Hollywood movie and go to town bonkers. So, yeah, I'm really curious about what comes up further in this book. I haven't decided yet whether I want it as a long-term something to keep or not, but I am glad that I got it from the library, and it ties in with the other library book that I'm currently reading, which is out in the other room as well. That has to do with chemtrails and why people seem to think these are something to worry about other than atmospheric reality. No, the government isn't spraying you. Um, and I'm pretty sure of that because I grew up on a farm and I know when they were spraying the fields, you have to be lower down. You're not going to be way up there and hope to crikey the stuff comes down to where you're hoping. Because you have to think, wind currents, everything else. You're not going to be way up high spraying things. But, like I said, and the fallout from The Conjuring is a perfect example. People hear things, whatever, they don't check the facts. Critical thinking is kind of becoming like common sense, a rare commodity. But I mean, the more that people talk about, research, check, be sure of things, don't just be a dumbass and go out and, vandalize things that don't belong to you, for one. And two, don't vandalize it based on a bunch of hokum that people didn't bother to check the facts. So, yeah, there's that. I think maybe today I'm going to just wrap it up there. Ooh, let's see. I don't know if this picture will. Oh, there you go. You can see. So this is the April calendar from Ann Stokes. And it's pretty cool. This is called Moon Witch. And I know I know she's an illustrator and such an amazing artist. I have a few different calendars with her work, and I have a couple other plaques with her work on it. I don't know if she illustrates for games, or whether they're like fantasy type novels. I believe she's British. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure she is British. It might, let's see, does it say, 2025? Yeah, but it doesn't say where that photo is. So she may have actually designed it for that calendar specifically, but I know a lot of her other works have appeared in other places. Thanks. Thanks, Jen. I'm gonna go with it. Chemtrails. Folks brag about being stupid. Yeah, because they couldn't pass elementary school basics. Well, there you go. That could definitely, but you may want to double think that if you decide to go ahead with it. I've told you the story about the person in college who disappeared for days, and I was just like, oh, crap. be just my luck that they didn't show up again, and then I got people going all kinds of stupid on me, like, you said you were gonna hex him. It's like, well, yeah, but I couldn't actually, so there you go. Anywho, I think I'm going to call that a wrap for today. I do need to check out a different platform because, like I say, on this one, I really have to watch my hours. But they reset for me on the 11th, so I think it just goes by whenever you started your StreamYard account or start streaming. So I know I've got plenty of wiggle room when it comes up to my next live stream, which will be the 16th. I'm not going to live stream tomorrow. I know tomorrow, again, like I said, tomorrow's the 4th anniversary, but that's okay. It'll be like a hoo-hoo, and I'm still here 4 years later, so I'll call that the celebration and still plugging away at the videos and figuring things out. And there are a bunch of videos that I actually do need to record. I need to do my thank you 350 unsubs, but I need to decide whether I'm going to record that in Canva or do something in PowerPoint, because I did get a screenshot of some of my stats from the analytics, and it's really interesting. And I know some people don't delve into analytics. I should maybe do that myself because, I mean, they've been growing insane, crazy, and getting hundreds of views. So maybe I should just ignore the stats and analytics altogether and just do my thing. But so I've got that planned, and I do need to finish reading one Polidori, and then that video will be up on Wednesday. 2 weeks from now will be the family of Verdelac. Verdelac. I have to double check that pronunciation. And then I have to decide what's going to be in between those two. There's a few different things going on with Bigfoot right now, so that might be a good time to chit chat. There's a documentary that's come out about the Patterson Gimli photo, and yeah, it's right here. Oh, so not photo, video clip. So if you've looked anything into cryptids, this is the pattern. This is a photo of the Patterson Gimli video, and it's, very short, supposedly a capture of Bigfoot. Lots of controversy over the years. I'm pretty sure this is from, if I remember correctly, the 1960s. There was a big brouhaha about it being a costume. Other people saying it would have cut back then. It would have cost them a ton of money to get that costume made. There was an individual who did the costumes for Planet of the Apes who said they couldn't have made a costume that good. So I need to track down this documentary. The Shape, one of the debunkers that I follow, just had 2 videos about it, and it was really interesting, the stuff that he had to share. I need to find out where this documentary is to watch it, because there's a couple other books that I have, of course, that are specific to Bigfoot and talk about that footage. Some say it's valid, some say it isn't. So I need to double check that, watch the Shapes videos again, and then put something together on my own thoughts. But I definitely want to find out what this documentary is, because there's been so much controversy about it, as in they supposedly just happened to see this creature and be there. Others are like, nope, they planned it out quite a bit of time before to make sure it would go the way it's presented. So again, critical thinking, right? But anyhow, I think I'm going to call that a wrap for today. A big thank you to everyone who popped in for the on the fly, let's do a live stream today. If you're Team Rewatch, thanks for coming in, checking it out. And I'm going to go pick my exercises for week 1 of The Artist's Way, figure out how I'm going to record it, and I will be back next Monday at 1 o'clock. We'll move on to week 2, which is recovering a sense of identity. Thank you, Jen. Hopefully I will see you tomorrow. And I'm going to say thank you, everyone, for joining. Take care. Hope you're enjoying your reads. And I'll see you next week.